حي على الفلاح.
And today, inshallah, we're going to be talking about Imam Tirmidhi. So we're going to be talking about who he was, where he came from, who his teachers were, who his students were, the things that happened in his life that's been recorded and that's been narrated, and also, the works that he did and the things that he's actually known for. And if you look at this era and you look at this time in history, it's really a golden era of hadith, because you have all of these scholars and they were all around at the same time. These 6 scholars of hadith, they were all around at the same time. So Imam al-Bukhari, he was a teacher of Imam Muslim and of Imam Abu Dawud and of Imam Tirmidhi. And then you see Imam Muslim, who was another teacher of Imam Tirmidhi. And Imam Tirmidhi himself was a student of these 3, Abu Dawud and Imam Muslim and Imam Bukhari. So they all lived in around the same time. So it's really amazing, how these scholars and these 6 major scholars of hadith, it really shows you the barakah and the blessing that was around at this time. The reason why he's known as Tirmidhi is because he came from a place called Tirmidh. His real name was Muhammad ibn Isa ibn Sawrah ibn Musa ibn al-Dahhak, and his kunya was Abu Isa. And he was also given another nickname, which was Ad-Darir, means the one who is blind. They originally gave him that nickname because some said that he was blind from an early age, but that's actually incorrect, and we'll talk about that later on, inshallah. He was born in the year 209 Hijri, and some say 210 Hijri, and this corresponds to like 825 in the Gregorian calendar. And he was born, as we mentioned, in the city of Tirmidh. And Tirmidh today, it's in the southern part of Uzbekistan, and is close to the Afghan border. And what you notice with all the scholars of these 6 major books of hadith is, subhanAllah, none of them were Arabs. The Arabic language wasn't the first language that they spoke. And the scholars, they praised Imam Tirmidhi. So one of the scholars, he said that he used to be used as an example to others when it came to hifth. So it shows you the strength of his hifth and the strength of his memorization. Also, they said about him, he is someone reliable. All the scholars agree upon this. And he was known for his honesty. He was known for his integrity, and he was known for his knowledge. One of the scholars, he also said that he had a righteous hand in fiqh, meaning he played a very important role and pivotal role, as we'll mention inshallah, in fiqh. And one of the other scholars, Musa ibn Alaq, he said that once Imam al-Bukhari, which was one of the teachers of Imam Tirmidhi, he was teaching, and Musa ibn Alaq said, when Imam al-Bukhari passed away and he left behind Imam Tirmidhi, he said that Imam al-Bukhari didn't leave anyone behind in Khurasan like Abu Isa at-Tirmidhi in knowledge and humility. And you're talking about Imam al-Bukhari, the master of hadith. Another scholar, he said, the memorizer. He was precise and he was accurate with his memory. The hafiz, and the one who is a master of precision and accuracy. From the teachers that he had were Imam al-Bukhari, Imam Muslim, Imam Abu Dawud, and also Imam al-Darimi. And Imam al-Darimi, he wrote a sunan called Sunan al-Darimi. And from his students, there's nobody who was famous or well known. There was a scholar known as Hamad ibn Shakir, and also another scholar by the name of Al-Haytham ibn Kulayb al-Shashi. And he was the main narrators of one of the books of Imam Tirmidhi. Imam Tirmidhi wrote a book on the descriptions of the Prophet ﷺ. And this scholar, Haytham, he was one of the main narrators when it came to the narrations that were mentioned in this book. Also, interestingly, from the students of Imam Tirmidhi was Imam al-Bukhari and Imam Muslim. So they weren't just his teachers, but they were also his students. They actually narrated a hadith from him as well. So he narrated a hadith from them, but they also narrated hadith from him. And this really shows you the humility of the scholars. Imam al-Bukhari, when he was teaching Imam Tirmidhi, he spoke to him once and he said to him, you haven't benefited from me as much as I have benefited from you. And this is Imam al-Bukhari. So Imam al-Tirmidhi, he traveled in pursuit of knowledge, and the scholars, they said, the researchers and the historians, they say that he traveled to Iraq in search of knowledge and pursuit of knowledge, and also to Hijaz. And there's examples which show his strong memory. And this story is mentioned by Imam al-Tirmidhi himself. He said that one day I was on my way to Mecca, and Imam al-Tirmidhi met a scholar of hadith in the city of Mecca who he had previously recorded hadith from. And so when he came to Mecca, he found that this scholar was actually in Mecca. So he wanted to revise what he had written down and what he had learned from the Shaykh previously. And he asked around to find out where this scholar was. And he thought that he had the notes with him of the ahadith that he recorded from this scholar. So thinking he had these notes with him, when he found the Shaykh, he asked the Shaykh if he would give him permission for him to read those ahadith and narrate those ahadith that he learned from him again, so that he could correct him with any errors that he may have made with regards to those ahadith that he learned from him before. So the Shaykh gave him permission, and when he looked in his bag to try to get out the paper with the narrations on them, he couldn't find them. And he took out some pieces of paper that were blank. So he's panicking now. He's thinking, what am I going to do? So then what he does is he just starts narrating the hadith. And the Shaykh is listening, and the Shaykh notices that he's got blank pieces of paper in front of him. And so the Shaykh says to him, don't you have no shame? Why are you wasting my time? And so Imam al-Tirmidhi, he says to him, I've memorized what you taught me from years ago. The scholar doesn't believe him, he's not convinced. So the scholar says to him, okay, recite, carry on reading then. Imam al-Tirmidhi, he starts to narrate to him all of the ahadith that he had learned from him previously. The scholar still isn't convinced. And he says to him that you had a look at them before you came. And so Imam al-Tirmidhi then said to him, okay, then give me other ahadith which I can repeat. He gave him 40 ahadith which he hadn't given him before. We're talking about the chains of narration. So this person heard from this person who heard from this person. Okay, you're hearing 40 in one go. Okay, with many different narrations of the hadith. So he gives him these 40 new ahadith. Imam al-Tirmidhi, he repeats them all without making a single error. And this shows you the remarkable power, strength of the hifth and the memory of Imam al-Tirmidhi. The scholar, he said, I've never seen someone like you. Also Imam al-Tirmidhi, he wasn't just a muhaddith. He was someone who could extract rulings from a hadith. And he had the mind of a faqih. And this is why one of the scholars, he said, that he was given understanding of fiqh by Imam al-Bukhari. And he was the first one to write in the field of comparative fiqh. We're talking about, for example, Imam Malik said this, Imam Shafi'i said this, and these were the evidences, and this was deemed to be the correct opinion, and this is what Abdullah ibn Mubarak said, and Sufyan al-Thawri, and so on and so forth. Okay, they would look at all the different scholars and what each and every one of them said. So he was one of the first ones to write in the field of comparative fiqh. And with regards to his madhab himself, some of the scholars said he was a Shafi'i. But in reality, he in of himself was a mujtahid. Okay, he was a scholar of hadith, and he was also a faqih. He wasn't, following another madhab, because he himself was a madhab. He himself was a mujtahid. And with regards to his books, you'll notice that sometimes they don't write that many books. And Imam al-Tirmidhi, it said he only wrote about 12 books. And from those books, there's only about 4, which are actually printed and which are actually around today. So it really shows you that it's all about quality, it's not about quantity. And the main book which he's known for is Sunan at-Tirmidhi. He himself, he talked about this book, and he said, I wrote this book, and once I wrote it, I presented it to the scholars of Iraq, and they were happy with it. And then I presented the book to the people of Khurasan, meaning to the scholars of Khurasan, and they were happy with it. And he said, whoever has this book in their homes, then it's as if the Prophet ﷺ himself is speaking. And they had this confidence and they had this assurance about what they had written. The full title of the book is Al-Jami' al-Mukhtasar min al-Sunan an Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wa ma'rifatu as-sahih wal-ma'lum wa ma alayhi al-amal. So it's a long title. So in short, people just say Sunan al-Tirmidhi. And it's also known as Jami' al-Tirmidhi. Now what's the difference between the two? It's called a Sunan because the chapters in that book go according to the order of fiqh. So purification, and then prayer, and then the other ibadat, and such, and so on and so forth. The Jami' because they're more comprehensive. So not only do they cover the abwab and the chapters of fiqh, but they cover other things. For example, seerah. There'll be narrations in there talking about tafsir. There'll be narrations in there talking about aqidah and tawheed and so on and so forth. A musnad, for example, Musnad Imam Ahmad, is called a musnad because it's all the narrations from a specific individual all compiled together. Regardless of whether they're sahih or hasan or da'if, doesn't matter. And this book, Sunan al-Tirmidhi or Jami' al-Tirmidhi, is that he mentions the opinions of the madhahib with regards to certain rulings. So he'll mention the opinion of Imam Malik, for example, the opinion of Imam Shafi'i, the opinion of, Ishaq ibn Rahaway, or Sufyan al-Thawri, or Abdullah ibn Mubarak, and others. So he'll mention their opinions. And then he'll mention the main opinion, okay, and what the main ruling is. Okay, so this is something which he actually includes in his Sunan of Tirmidhi. Also in this book, it shows his level and his knowledge with regards to when a person classifies and grades narrators of hadith. And also from the unique attributes of this book is that he divides a hadith into different categories. He divides them into sahih, into hasan, and also into da'if. Some may ask, why would he mention da'if ahadith? And some may think that it's a mistake on his part. The reason why some scholars would include weak ahadith is so that when a person would hear this hadith, he wouldn't think that it's an authentic hadith if he mentions it in his book. Also, from the things that he did with his book and from the methods that he used in writing this book is that with difficult hadith or hadith which had complicated words or they were hard to understand, he would actually give them a small explanation. And also from the things that he was praised for with his book is that one of the scholars, a group of the scholars actually, but one of the scholars, Abdullah ibn Muhammad al-Ansari, he said with regards to Imam al-Tirmidhi's book, Sunan al-Tirmidhi, he said that in some ways it's more beneficial than the works of Bukhari and Muslim, since their compilations can only be understood by a very deep-sighted scholar. And even the way he's organized the hadith, there's a method to why he's put certain hadith first, and then even in each chapter why he's put certain hadith first and then other hadith come later. There's a method to why he's done certain things, and only a scholar will be able to understand what he's done and why he's done the things that he's done. But Abdullah ibn Muhammad, he said that whereas Al-Jami' al-Tirmidhi can be understood by both the scholar and also the layman. Also, the number of hadith in the book, in Sunan al-Tirmidhi, is approximately 3,956. And also from the unique things about this book is that he doesn't repeat a hadith. Another of his books, which is around today, is a book known as Al-Shama'il al-Muhammadiyya. And it's also known as Shama'il al-Tirmidhi. And this is basically a collection of narrations which cover things specifically relating to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So for example, the appearance of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how he looked, what was his hair like, did he have any white hairs, what was his beard like, how tall was he, his physical description. Also, for example, his character, what was his personality like, what was his character like, what were his habits like, how would he sleep, how would he walk, how would he eat, how would he talk to others. So all of these different narrations talking about specifically the Prophet ﷺ and his habits and things pertaining to the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, he gathered all of them. What kind of clothes would he wear? What kind of shoes did he have? What kind of ring did he wear? Specific things like this, all to do with the Prophet ﷺ. And one of the benefits of this kind of book is that you realize the detail in which the companions went to in describing the life of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And there's nobody who's been described in as much detail as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Subhanallah. You knew how he was in his private life because he was the greatest example. You know, in public and also in private, how he was with his close friends and with his family members and with his children and so on and so forth. So this book is also a very valuable book. It's a beautiful book. Another book which he wrote was known as Tasmiyatu Ashabi Rasulillahi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the names of the companions of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Many of us may think, what kind of book is that? Just the names of the companions. Why is that such a big deal? Why is he written down just the names of the companions? And the reason why he's written this book is because some companions aren't known by their names. For example, Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. How many of us know his real name? Abdullah ibn Uthman was the actual real name of Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. But if someone said the first Khalifa was Abdullah ibn Uthman, it was Abu Bakr who was the first Amir, first leader of the Muslims. So this shows you the benefit of this kind of book. Imam Tirmidhi, he lived until he was 70 years old. The scholars, they said about him, they said he cried out of the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until he became blind. And this was towards the end of his life. And this is why the scholars, they called him, this is specifically why they called him Ad-Darir. And he died in the city of Bukh. And Bukh is in the district of Tirmidhi, where he actually grew up. On Monday the 13th of Rajab, in the year 279 Hijri. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we're able to benefit from what we've learned today. Okay, jazakumullah khair. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.